What if I told you there's a place in the Nevada desert so secretive that even today, most maps won't show it? A place where the United States government has hidden some of its most ambitious experiments, advanced aircraft, and possibly technologies that could change the way the world works? This is Area 51, a name whispered in UFO circles, conspiracy forums, and even government reports, yet a place few have ever seen. In the first 5 seconds, you might think you've heard all the stories, but what's coming next will challenge everything you believe. What really goes on behind those guarded gates, under the blistering desert sun, and beneath the radar of the public eye? What the military calls top secret and what the world calls myth, the truth has been meticulously kept for decades. Some of it is documented, some hinted at, and some remains officially denied. Area 51 begins its story in the mid-1950s, at a time when the Cold War had transformed global strategy and America needed to leap ahead in technology. The Central Intelligence Agency and the U.S. Air Force sought a hidden testing ground, isolated from public scrutiny, where the next generation of aircraft could be designed, built, and flown in complete secrecy. Groom Lake, a vast salt flat surrounded by mountains, was chosen in 1955. Its remoteness made it ideal. No neighbors to complain, no eyes to watch, and a landscape that naturally contained the echoes of jets slicing through the sky. Early projects at Groom Lake included the U-2 spy plane, designed to fly higher than any known aircraft, capable of overflying the Soviet Union and collecting intelligence that could shift the balance of the Cold War. Pilots like Francis Gary Powers trained under extreme secrecy, their flights scheduled in the dead of night or at dawn. Powers' letters home to his family, carefully worded, hinted at the danger and isolation. "I can't tell you exactly what I see or do," he wrote, "but every flight matters. One misstep, one camera left behind, and the world changes." Powers would later be captured during a U-2 mission over the USSR, but his work and that of his fellow pilots laid the foundation for America's aerial intelligence dominance. As the 1960s approached, engineers pushed even further. The State Route 71 Blackbird emerged, a Mach 3 plus reconnaissance aircraft designed to fly faster and higher than anything else in the sky. Pilots who flew the Blackbird describe it as both terrifying and exhilarating, machines so advanced that even radar struggled to track them. Letters and journal entries from these pilots often speak in awe, the sensation of flying above the earth at 3 times the speed of sound, the silent knowledge that no one else could reach these heights, the tension of missions where a single mistake could mean disaster. "You feel like you're touching the edge of the world," one Blackbird pilot once wrote. Of course, any story about Area 51 cannot escape the myths surrounding UFOs. The Roswell crash of 1947 ignited decades of speculation, and when Area 51 became operational, strange sightings multiplied. Security personnel and engineers recall unusual aircraft in the desert sky, craft with impossible maneuverability, no visible propulsion systems, or shapes unlike any conventional plane. Some of these reports coincided with the testing of highly classified aircraft like the A-12 and U-2, which explained some sightings, but the lines between myth and reality blurred. Did the world merely see advanced human engineering, or something else entirely? Some eyewitnesses insist they saw things that defied physics, and the secrecy only made their stories more compelling. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, Area 51 was home to groundbreaking stealth technology. The F-117 Nighthawk, the first operational stealth fighter, emerged from these desert hangars. Engineers experimented with radar-absorbing materials, angular airframes, and other innovations that allowed these aircraft to seemingly vanish from enemy radar. Test pilots took these planes into the air, pushing them to their limits under extreme secrecy. One test pilot, speaking years later under anonymity, described the thrill and fear. "You climb into the cockpit, start the engines, and the only thing between you and disaster is the trust in the engineers and your own instincts. Every flight is a gamble with history on the line." Stealth aircraft weren't the only projects. Area 51 became a hub for experimental propulsion, exotic materials, and aerodynamic testing that few outside the military could even imagine. Whispers from former engineers suggest that reverse-engineered aircraft may have existed, some utilizing technologies still officially denied. Although declassified documents show projects involving aerodynamic innovation, jet efficiency, and materials science, the full scope remains hidden. Every project was shrouded in secrecy, every flight logged in classified files, and every engineer trained to never speak of what they saw or built. Human stories bring this secrecy into focus. Soldiers, pilots, and engineers endured extreme conditions, long periods away from family, and the mental strain of working on projects that might never see the light of day. Letters home often mention mundane duties, masking the extraordinary work conducted each day. One engineer recalled, "We'd watch our prototypes take off and disappear into the desert sky, knowing the world outside would never see them." That was both the pride and the frustration of Area 51. A pilot, reflecting on a stealth test flight, said, "I could climb above the clouds and feel the power of the machine beneath me, yet when I landed, it was like it never existed." Nobody would ever know, and maybe that was exactly the point. The Cold War context drove much of this secrecy. America and the Soviet Union were locked in an arms race that pushed the boundaries of aviation, espionage, and technology. Every project at Area 51 had strategic value: reconnaissance planes that could peer into enemy territory, stealth aircraft that could strike without warning, and experimental propulsion that might leapfrog conventional technology. Personnel inside the base understood the stakes. Their sacrifices mirrored those of American soldiers in World War II, risking life, embracing uncertainty, and believing that their work could protect millions back home. Even today, Area 51 continues to operate at the cutting edge. UAVs, stealth drones, and experimental aircraft test new flight technologies under conditions the public will likely never witness. Some projects, hinted at in declassified records, are still fully classified. Retired operatives describe seeing aircraft so advanced that they seem like science fiction, and propulsion systems that could redefine air and space travel. The base is a living laboratory, constantly evolving, and still guarded with extraordinary measures. Signs warning no trespassing and security patrols are the least of it. Technological barriers, radar, and extreme secrecy ensure that only a handful of people ever see the full picture. And here's the most haunting thought: the most incredible projects, the ones that could change history, may still be hidden in that desert. Some of the aircraft remain unacknowledged. Some of the propulsion systems remain undisclosed. And some of the work is so classified that not even their names exist outside the walls of Area 51. Technology that could redefine the future of aviation, energy, and even national security lies beyond those gates, and only a select few have seen it. The question is no longer whether these programs exist; they do. The question is how far they have progressed, and how long before the world sees the truth. The men and women who served there carry fragments of the story, hints that tease the imagination, letters that barely scratch the surface, and memories that will never be publicly shared. Every hangar, every flight, every prototype embodies decades of innovation, secrecy, and bravery. And now, as we stand at the edge of the desert, looking toward Groom Lake, the mystery deepens. Some projects are still denied, some technology remains decades ahead of anything publicly known, and some of the secrets are so extraordinary that when they finally emerge, they could shock the world. The next chapter is closer than ever. And when the gates of Area 51 finally open, or when insiders reveal even fragments of the truth, what we discover could rewrite aviation, energy, and the story of American ingenuity forever. Because what lies hidden today may change everything we think we know about technology, the skies, and even humanity itself. And some of it is still denied.